Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Fire Horse Academy. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to talk to you today about language. Obviously, language is vitally important, and most people, when we are asked what language is, we assume that we mean the spoken word, and we mean the specific spoken word excuse me, that I speak in English in America versus speaking Spanish in Mexico or French in France, etc. We all have a form of communication audibly, and if we have the ability to speak, then we can communicate verbally. We also have more than 90% of our communication happens non-verbally, so most of our languaging is through gestures and through assumptions of body distribution. The way that we present ourselves carries a lot of information. The way that we hold our hands, the way that we express ourselves, the way that we would rock back or lean in, the way that we would get bigger or smaller. We don't have to say anything in order to make someone understand what we're meaning, primarily just through our gestures. You know, improvisation is improv night. What do they call that? Charades. Yeah, that's the exact same thing. Is we're going to find a way to motion for you what my mouth is not going to say to you. And so if we can do this, and it's really not all that complicated. In the middle of a charades game, we're trying to make it kind of difficult. However, when we're in conversation and we have our spoken language, then we have the gestures, we have the face expression, we have the whole body package to take in at the same time, and we can get a more complete message if we understand our own language in terms of our spoken language. That has flaws in it. We can know and remember that, and then also know that by knowing more about how the body is communicating will give us a more complete picture of how communication happens, and then we can go back and look at and see, what can I pick up in the future about me, what I'm doing with my body, what can I do, when I see this particular pattern of physical movement or expression, or the tone in the physical body is very rigid. What can I learn by looking at people, watching myself, and really studying the behaviors? If you really want to have an exercise and something fun, then watch a video of some kind without the sound on. Just watch it with the person speaking or the people speaking, the movie going on without the sound. And it's an amazing experience to watch that and be kind of sensory deprived with it, to truly just take nothing but the sheer visual, no sound at all, and to see a completely different interpretation. Honestly, it seems that it would be the same, but it's amazing how much more nuance I can pick up, especially if I've either already seen the movie or I'm going to go back and watch the movie. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever watched a movie with the sound off and then gone back, but I have gone back and watched movies that are action movies, particularly just to get, how is this plot, the plot development happening underneath all the action, how's the silence speaking, and the silence speaks volumes, especially in action movies. So it speaks volumes, period. In suspense movies, it just matters, because the emphasis on what our body is doing is mirroring, usually, unless there's a degree of distortion, it's usually mirroring whatever emotional state we're in. And again, it can be distorted with people who, I'm fine, but that would tell you something too. If we understood body language, is that generally the face is a receiving instrument. It's a giving and receiving in kind ways. It can be, and when it's not giving that inviting or investigatory, or it's okay, I won't eat you alive, when it's not giving that and it's giving something that looks far more intimidating, we don't have to say a whole lot. We don't have to do anything. That's how parents get children to do things from across the room. Have you ever had a parent that could move you with their stank face, that you would immediately drop to the floor, low crawl, and say, I'm really sorry for whatever I did? And then we start looking for the course correction. That's somebody that can, in the silence of a room where they don't have to say a word, absolutely decimate someone, just take them out and lace them to the ground with just a look. or just a gesture, just something that is nonverbal. So obviously our communication really needs to rest in more than just what people are saying, because what people's bodies are doing, this is what polyvagal work and somatic body work teaches us, is that what the body's doing, it doesn't forget what the body's already done, and it doesn't forget what it's already experienced and how it already feels about all of that, how it's logged all of the experiences that we've had, good or bad. It's just that most of us tend to, because they hard set in very differently, our traumatic experiences or our, not so great periods of time in our life where we learned, how to adapt to these uncomfortable periods of time. Well, we learned body, ways to shut down, ways to big up when we really don't feel very strong or tall. We kind of front and we flex. And other times you see someone shrink down in conversation and say, oh, okay, and their head goes down. So there's a whole lot more we can elicit by understanding, what's my body do when I'm talking to someone? What is their body doing? Do I see a significant change in their physicality, regardless of whether I hear it in their voice or see it in their facial expression? We have people who build the most amazing, complicated masks for people that are empaths and who read energy, to not be looking at the face and the body and understand that that's a mismatched individual, because many times empaths or energy workers, psychics, clairvoyants, sensitive people, however you arrive there to that understanding, people that can read energy will pick up that discrepancy, and because of the pattern of the past and the system of the past, etc., that's weird, that's bad, that's a gift that isn't really a gift, it's evil, etc., that this skill or this ability to reach inside and train our intuitive capabilities, that somehow is wrong, and that we shouldn't be returning to that system, or we shouldn't be returning to that sense of I just know what I know. And we see that dissonance in other people, and we really don't spend any time on the wraparound of what all the story is about why that's so, because people are too conflicted. You can have somebody's mouth masking just perfectly, but if they're I'm fine, and you can see and feel more than anything, there's too much conflicting information in somebody who's telling you they're fine and their face is pinched up and they look like they want to hurt you, or they look like they're on the edge of collapsing, and some people, that's just what you have to do because you don't know them well enough to, open that can of worms. And some people use that as a tool for, feel sorry for me. So, there's a lot of different reasons, an endless number of emotionally manipulative reasons why we do what we do, with our mouth, with our bodies, with our behavior. And most of what we do in that unconscious space with our body is based in the memory of the body kept the score, and it still knows what the score is, and it's happy to startle or to have a somatic pain somewhere. A psychosomatic pain is what they'd call it. However, it's very real in that it lives in an energetic space that's a bundle, a knot, something that we can work with. However, if we don't even notice that in our physicality, we don't notice the correlation between that person said or did something near me and it hit a part of my body, or I feel a sense of constriction in my throat, or what they're saying just seems like something sounds really good. If we stop and pause for half a second, that is how we introduce ourselves back to the most basic fundamental characteristic of a human being, is their instinct. Their primal instinct for survival can be perfected by paying attention to that. It can be perfected to understand more than just the survival instinct, and actually tap into morphogenic fields all around us, to tap into what is that out there, rather than just tapping into fear, rather than just tapping into the body language exclusively, tapping into the mouth exclusively, tapping into whatever the story that might be dazzling us. That's how the shell game works, is to just keep talking. And if I keep making eye contact with you and just shuffling stuff down all around down underneath you, then it's easier to just kind of get you to come along, especially if you're a person who's been told and gaslit hard that, yeah, there's just something wrong with you. You're so sensitive, you're so this, you're so that. In a highly insensitive and inhumane and cruel world where a lot of folks are terribly insensitive, I'm going to be okay with, proudly standing on the moniker of overly sensitive if I have to, because I'd much rather step away from things, understanding my body, communicating with it, and not using it to communicate out here in a way that I don't even know is happening, because I'm not marrying that feeling with what's happening out here. Many of us are born, bred, and taught and absolutely, conditioned to believe that funny feeling in you, that's the broke part of you, and you just got to go do something about that. And whatever you do, it's to never bring it up to between me and you again, because this isn't an issue with me, friend. This is an issue with you. So if I know that I'm really okay in my body, my language and my movement are all synonymous with one another and in synchronicity with one another, we're harmonizing. I know that my mouth means what my gestures and my face, I know everything in me is balanced in what I'm saying, so that if I'm talking to somebody else and I suddenly lose my clarity, oh, that's somebody that's got a discrepancy somewhere that's causing a discrepancy in me. Now I need to go in and say, is this attuned me, or is this 1111? That I know what the tuning is, and they're the ones that are out of tune with me. And there's nothing wrong. We don't have to, walk up to somebody and go, oh my God, you're horribly dissonant to me. What are you doing on this planet? No, it's simply to step away, especially if they're people that are highly conflicted and they get real hot and bothered quickly. 1133. If you're around people that are highly volatile, those aren't the people that I'm going to give a lot of room to wiggle around and, wondering what their mouth and their feet are doing. If they're not moving in the same direction with some real believable force, then the confusion is enough that I'll check myself before I wreck myself. However, I'm definitely not even going to remotely enter an area where wrecking myself is an option, just because I blew over the idea that my body's screaming, in a bunch of different ways, feeling dizzy, short of breath, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be anything huge. My cues are very subtle sometimes now, however, a constant state of, hypervigilance and awareness, because not understanding that, oh, people are lying. They're lying. They're 1221. They're holding lies all in their body, just like you are, where you are. We're all holding the lies and the inconsistencies and the imbalance and the bullshit that we've lived with. And depending on how, heavy set that stuff is in our bodies and our minds and our experience, and how intense that was and how sharp the field changed, that will be how much, the degree to which it's really affecting us. However, the language itself is that the language of the body is going to need to language out here very differently, and perhaps very awkwardly sometimes, to say, yeah, something doesn't feel right and I just have to stop. I'm sorry, I have to go now. And just abruptly leave conversations that don't seem to make sense. However, the language of the body, listening to the language of another body, speaks the universal language of energy, and energy that is based in a very high vibrational love frequency feels very different than somebody who's vibing on some lowballing stuff. That's all. It's as simple as that. Now, we can put a lot of stank and judgment on what those activities and thoughts and behaviors, blah, 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 all of that. And that's not what I'm saying, 1331. What I'm saying is simply that we can choose to stand in presence and in disharmony or in resonance with people. We can either stand there wondering, why do I feel suddenly just like garbage? Is this me or is this other person? And that's really for me to work out. And meanwhile, if it is the other person and I'm just standing there taking the long-winded explanation or the diatribe or the hustle that just watch my face, just watch the face, and I'm going to be hustling and moving sideways underneath you, and next thing you're standing there alone with something in your hands going, what just happened here? 1414. I don't care to be involved in that again. How does this keep happening? It keeps happening because we're not hearing the dissonance, friend. We're not feeling it. And there are so many ways to begin to do that. However, the first is to recognize that, everybody else isn't wrong. And more importantly, we are not wrong about everything that everybody else has wrong with them. And we're also not responsible for what's wrong with everybody in the world. We are not broken. They are not broken. It's broken ideology, broken behaviors, and broken systems that are built on greed, selfishness, and very earth-based, carnal, lower nature stuff. And we're changing that. So it's going to piss a few people off that really want to stay invested in their party lifestyle. However, grabbing and growling, we don't have time for that. We have time for solutions. So I'm looking for people who have open body language with an open mouth, and people that have an open body language and a real closed, there's a lot of polarity there. That means that person's highly out of balance. And even if I have someone that's cultured and well-spoken and seems very coiffured, I pay attention to that as well. So it's really about what in me changes when I stand in the presence of you. And I want to teach people, I do teach people, that what in you changes when you stand in front of me or in front of the person that you're standing in front of me about, or the situation that caused you harm all those years ago. What in you is igniting and lighting up in here that's an informational highway for you. That's a bridge of communication, and the translation of that language is through frequency and love. Love is the highest frequency, the most loving expression of it that it can be. That's the one that I personally care to be sharing space with in any room at all ever. And it's much more inviting to me to consider spending time with myself before I would try to figure out why I can't tune my instrument, what's wrong with me, or sitting there listening to the bad harmonies around me simply because I don't understand that you're not required to sit here, man. And it's not you. You're tuning to, concert A, the known to be concert A. Love is the basic, love cures everything, love heals everything, love is everything. We know that's the concert A setting. And once we truly know that, it might piss us off, might make us sad, might make us mad, might make us, do a lot of things, and it does. However, that's the bottom line, is that no matter what has ever happened, no matter how anybody presented with their conflicted information, their face and their feet doing completely different things, no matter what we've done, there is nothing and no one that cannot find their tuning back to universal concert A, and that's a matter of just continuing to perfect the skill, the pedagogy of what will remind me to come back into 1717 as an 8-8, into that wealth and abundance frequency, that understanding of me, the ancient wisdom that wakes up and knows that abundance and wealth codes mean more than just money. They mean more than just the lower nature. It means that we take all of that wealth and abundance consciousness. If I'm connected to universal intelligence, I'm good here. This is really great. This language is truly universal, and it opens up all good things to me, all positive, all nourishing, all soul enriching things to me. They're always available to me. However, if I'm standing in a blockage based on the language and the frequency being blocked by those kinds of errors, then I'm wasting my time perfecting nothing except the pedagogy of how to continue to tune badly and play, inharmonically with other people, whether we know it's our fault or their fault, either one. And it isn't a matter of punishing, bad players. It's simply a matter of, I don't like playing in, something that's flat. I don't play in a flat setting. I like things to be sharp, crisp, and to tune right there, and to get everybody started on that universal setting. Now, everybody isn't required to set to me. Only in the places where I'm the first chair violinist and I'm setting the frequency, then that's where I'll be. And if I can't, mesh in well with everybody else, because the first chair violinist merely sets the standard, they're not the whole show. They have other people who are doing their parts. We're just all starting from the same starting point. That's all. And it's here. And if other people really see that leadership position as, hey, I'm establishing that we have a code of conduct here and some morality that's going to hit, at least a level of this and not anything too janky, then everybody gets started on the same page. If we've got ground rules here, this is what it is. And then everybody plays the piece, 100 people in the orchestra, or, 2 that are playing a singer and a violinist. You're going to, be in harmony with one another because you've tuned to one another. And when we tune in places where it just sounds terrible, our bodies know that. It keeps the score. It's a matter of getting inside to learn where it is and how to get that disharmony regulated back into a more harmonic frequency that feels better for us, and it'll start curing all kinds of things within us. So anyway, I hope this helps you, and I hope that you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in, and remember to get within your skin because you're divine. Oh my goodness, your tuning is absolutely fine. You have perfect love pitch. It's the universal language, and you know it, understand it, and speak it all the time. So some of us need to get more fluent in the translation of that out here. Some of us are, just beginning our studies, and that's okay. It's just find people that are willing to go that way, and you may have more fun than standing around somebody 2020 who doesn't see you properly and doesn't hear you at all. So take care of yourself, as I said, and get within your skin because you're divine, absolutely gorgeous, totally beautiful, and absolutely fine. Take care, and I'll see you again next time, beautiful friends. Mwah. Bye-bye.